So it is still extremely early in the spring portal process, but we already have a couple of rumblings, a couple of confirmations about things that are very relevant to the world of Aggie football, in particular the rotation, and players that we might see take the field on Saturdays. So I wanted to go through some of these announcements, some things that have become official, and maybe take you to where the A&M eyes are facing. Some players that the coaching staff have already either made contact with or have given offers to. We have these rumblings. It's day one of the portal. Things are going to be coming all the time, new things every day. But we do know this. When Elko was asked at his most recent press conference about what he expected from this transfer portal, he said this, which is a quote, "I do not think I am necessarily overly concerned with the guys who are clear-cut returning players or difference makers in our program." So we have heard from Elko that any kind of movement out of the team this spring, he anticipates that that kind of player will be player from the back end of the rotation or players who maybe haven't cracked the rotation at all just yet. So with that, let's get into some things that we know so far. So according to Carl Carrolls of 247 Sports, we have a few confirmations about players who announced they would get to the portal previously who are now officially there. And those are Sam McCall and Jacoby Matthews. A couple of DBs, a couple of guys in the room that has become much more crowded now, a room that obviously struggled last year. This should not come as a huge surprise, especially considering we heard about him a couple weeks ago. But those guys entering the portal should not have been a surprise in the first place because that was a very crowded room. It became a very crowded room very quickly. We've heard from Elko that he's very excited about this safety room, that he thinks it could become a strength for this team, with most likely Bryce Anderson and what we think will be Dalton Brooks starting in that room come spring game. We don't know that for sure yet, but based on what we've heard, that would be the most likely scenario. And with this cornerback rotation, of which Sam McCall was a part of last year, you have so many options there now. It's not surprising to see these two guys officially hit the portal. But the latest addition came earlier this week. Alex Howard, the transfer out of Youngstown State. I talked about it on this show. I thought that players that we had just gotten in the portal, there was a chance that some of those guys would come in and leave right away once they realize where they are in the pecking order. A guy like Alex Howard is kind of the perfect guy to do that, being that he only has 1 year of eligibility left and he needs to find playing time elsewhere. So I wanted to talk about this for a second and go off a couple of tangents with Alex Howard entering the portal. Now, you could look at this half glass full. You could look at it half glass empty. The half glass empty version is Alex Howard struggled. He wasn't able to compete at the A&M at the SEC level, at the Power 5 level coming from Youngstown State. You don't know that for sure. But me and others thought that he would be the perfect candidate to bridge the gap from Edgerrin Cooper to the future of the linebacker room. This is a linebacker room littered with young but unexperienced and untapped potential with players like Damian Sanford, Tristan Jernigan, Martrell Harris, Jordan Lockhart, Scooby Williams coming to the program. A bunch of guys whose talents, at least on paper, are not questioned, but will it translate to SEC play? Will it translate to a starter caliber player? It's a question mark. But you feel good about the room. You feel good about the crop of players you're having to choose from, the competition within that room. All that stuff is very exciting, but it seemed like the fifth-year senior out of Youngstown State, the most mature guy there, the guy with the most college snaps under his belt, would maybe be the guy to take the starting spot in that room just because of experience and maturity, while other guys kind of get up to speed. I anticipated a bigger rotation at linebacker this year as opposed to last year where you had Edge Cooper and Torin York playing as many snaps as possible. Then you had the extremely experienced Chris Russell spelling either one of them. Now you have a lot of options, and now you have one less option. So what does this mean if the glass is half full? And what we're hoping for is that some of these young guys are emerging, that the Damian Sanfords of the world, the young freshmen, Jernigan, Lockhart, that these guys are showing that they're ready to play sooner than you would think. And I would offer you this, and this is going to be a major tangent. Whoever plays next to Torin York is going to benefit greatly from playing next to Torin York in particular. If you haven't heard by now, Torin York just got voted as a team captain for the 2024 Aggies.
Kind of let you guys talk to me, right? And usually when you go through it, like you can see some pretty clear like discernation of what you guys think. And I felt like by and large, you guys said there's two captains on this team. And so your captains for the 2024 season are
This is a vote that is done by the players. I believe Mike Elko hinted that he left the vote open-ended. He didn't want to limit the guys. He didn't want to give a selection of guys to choose from. It wasn't multiple choice. It seems like it was a right-in-the-name situation here. And the most common defensive player that would come up in this captain search was Torin York. So voted by the players, confirmed by the coaching staff, the true sophomore, Torin York is your team captain. So let's talk about Taurean for a second, and then we'll get back into the linebacker room, and then I have a few more transfer portal notes to do after this. How often do you see the player that you would consider an extension of the coaching staff in college athletics? You would maybe see it now and then from a very experienced senior, a guy with a really good head about them, because keep in mind, these are still kids in the structure of a college program. How strong are these kids' mindsets in regards to the X's and O's of the game and translating that to their players, the intangibles of the game, translating that to their teammates? Yeah, that can develop over some years, and it happens all the time. But for a true sophomore to be there already, for Elko to say that he's the perfect guy to wear that new walkie-talkie earpiece that these players are going to be wearing on the field, one on offense, one on defense, Torin York's the perfect guy for that as a true sophomore. Kind of guy that we saw pouring out emotions when he finally got that offer and put pen to paper to sign for Texas A&M, something that happened very late in his high school career, a dream that he had his whole high school career that only was realized maybe a month before signing day. This is a guy that we've seen a lot of in the intangibles department. And I would offer you this. I don't know if Edge Cooper becomes what Edge Cooper became last year without a guy like Torin York next to him. A guy that can take that leadership role a little bit out of Cooper's hands. And of course, Cooper probably led by example and led in his own right. But Torin York was not only a lead by example guy, but a vocal and direct leader for this team. So Cooper took a huge leap last year. We all know this. We all thought he had it in him. But he took the leap even more than I anticipated he would in even the best scenario for Edgerrin Cooper last year next to Torin York. Could whoever plays next to Torin York receive that same benefit that Edgerrin Cooper did last year? And will it make that guy even that much better? We're getting so many instances of Torin York and his greatness as a leader. And I feel that whichever young player does emerge and start next to Torin York, or whatever that rotation is, they're going to be made better knowing that they have the leader of this team, really, playing right next to them, taking a lot of that responsibility, a lot of that load off of whichever the other linebackers there. It'll take it off their shoulders. So Torin York, great guy. We're so proud of him. If you haven't watched the video that Texas A&M football put out on X, on Instagram, with Taurean receiving this accolade, this title, go check it out. It's awesome to see he's pouring with emotion yet again. He loves this school. He loves this team. He loves his teammates. He's the perfect guy to kind of guide this room into that next era. Because it's a new era when you lose a guy like Edgerrin Cooper. It's a change of the guard. It's a big shift in the defense. It's the biggest hole left in the defense. Whether you talk about the empty cornerback room that Mike Elko adopted and has now filled up nicely, you talk about some D-line exits after the changing of the guard at the coaching staff, you still had the glaring hole of Edge Cooper just going pro. And I think Torin York will guide whoever is next to him to a much higher level of play than if he wasn't there. So with that, who do you guys think is the lead candidate right now to start next to Torin York? I have a feeling it's Damian Sanford. We've gotten some good rumblings about him from since he got here last year. Not quite as positively as Torin York. We were gloating about him, just gleeful about Taurean from the day he stepped foot on campus. But from all reports, Sanford's body has matured greatly. He's getting a lot of reps this spring, and I think he's a great candidate to be the starter next year, game one. So, guys, I want to hear from you. What do you make of this linebacker shift? What do you make of Alex Howard hitting the portal? And just how damn proud of Torin York are you guys? I'm so proud of this guy. I'm so proud to call him an Aggie. So a couple of other notes. Jabari Barber, the transfer receiver who was turning heads in spring. A lot of really positive practice reports from Jabari Barber. Obviously, Jabari Barber and Cyrus Allen were the two major portal additions in the receiver room. A receiver room that was pretty good at the top, but definitely needed some back end, a second team, a second rotation right there. And you got it with Cyrus Allen and Jabari Barber, and hopefully some young guys maturing and coming into their own. You lose Jabari Barber, and this was already a need, in my opinion. You already needed one more receiver to round out this rotation. I'm not just talking about back end depth. I'm talking about one more guy who can play game to game, down to down, in spells, in packages as needed. You lost one guy. He had surgery, I believe, on his foot, and that makes his availability for fall camp in question. We haven't gotten confirmation on this, but we know he's at least out a few months. So the receiver room, the receiver search is going to heighten now. There's more urgency in this search, I think, in my opinion. A name already emerged in this hat of discussion. Keandre Lambert-Smith. He's a portal receiver out of Penn State. He just hit the portal after their spring game, where Drew Allar had another rough outing. Very up and down season for Drew Allar last year. You would call Penn State a mediocre at best passing offense last year. But Lambert-Smith still put together a pretty decent year. He's 6'1", 190. He had 673 yards last year and 4 touchdowns. Not a spectacular year, but in an offense that's not known for passing, a very productive year. So he's the perfect kind of guy, I think, that can go in there and maybe not expect to be wide receiver 1, but definitely be a part of the rotation and maybe be a plus player in that rotation. I put him in a similar vein to how I would view Cyrus Allen and Jabari Barber entering the program. Those guys were maybe more productive, but at the G5 level. Lambert-Smith maybe a little bit less productive, but out of the Power 5 level. He's a guy that A&M is apparently already in contact with, according to On3. He's already on the short list of candidates to land this guy. So let's really hope that A&M makes the push and makes it happen, because this seems like the perfect opportunity for A&M to fill out this room, a room that's more empty now with the injury of Jabari Barber. I'm still very excited about this receiver room. I was excited about Jabari Barber. I'm excited about Cyrus Allen. I'm excited about Isaiah Williams, the true freshman. And, of course, your 3 starters coming back in Moose Muhammad, Ja'Day Walker, and Noah Thomas. So if you can add a guy like Lambert-Smith or someone else at that level, I'd feel really good about this room. I already feel great about it. And now that you have Longstreet committed to A&M, you can only imagine that Holman Wiggins is putting his foot down on the pedal and trying to get more talent in this room to A&M. Because I already mentioned in yesterday's video, you have a bunch of young, promising offensive linemen entering the program. Now you have Longstreet. Now you have this huge pitch that Wiggins can make, that this offense is set up in the future to be a very productive passing offense under Colin Klein. So maybe Lambert-Smith is the first domino there. We shall see, and that's going to happen pretty quickly because he's in the window right now that closes at the end of the month. Another room that is notable for transfer additions is the defensive tackle room. It's another room similar to the receiver room where you're pretty happy about the top, but you need some back-end depth. You need some guys that are not necessarily bench players, but guys that can go in there and play in spells. You're not looking for someone to ride the bench here. You're looking for that third wave of players, of defensive tackles, of nose guards that can come in there and play. So another room that we feel good about, but a room where you need a guy. Renee Conga, the 6'4", 290-pound defensive tackle out of Rutgers, hit the portal, and he apparently received an offer from A&M. It just shows you that A&M's eyes are where we anticipated they would be in that defensive tackle room, already putting an offer out there early in this window. So we shall see if they land Renee, but we are also going to see if they also pursue more defensive tackles to throw into that room as well. You anticipate that this roster will drop to around the limit at 85 over the next couple of weeks. I have the feeling we're going to lose some more rotation guys, not starters, not high-caliber players, like Elko mentioned in his presser. But this defensive tackle room, you could have more guys leave there. You could have more receivers leave. You don't know what's going to happen. It's a priority that you get more DTs and wide receivers in those rooms that are already in need of bodies. So it's really encouraging to see that A&M is already hitting these 2 rooms early, just like we fans anticipated they needed to. They're on the ball. They don't need us to tell them this. They're already there. They're already doing their thing. So let's keep an eye on it, guys. Receiver and defensive tackle. Maybe linebacker now that you're losing Alex Howard. Maybe they want more body in there. I don't know if it's necessarily a huge priority unless you can get like a starter caliber player at linebacker, because you have so many options. You have great competition at linebacker right now. I felt good about this linebacker room's future. It's just who's going to be that guy that goes out there versus Notre Dame. It can be productive from day one and lead us to victory versus Notre Dame. Because that's the caveat of the whole offseason, is the season starts hot and fast. Notre Dame, week 3, you're at the swamp. You got to have a guy that can play early and often. But like I said, if you're next to Torin York, you're going to benefit from that. So I just wanted to get on here, guys, and get you guys ready at the start of this portal window. It opened today on Tuesdays when I'm recording this video. These are our early rumblings. We'll keep you guys updated as things keep progressing. I'll see you guys Wednesday night, live show, 8 p.m. It's moving from Thursday to Wednesday this week. I'm going out of town to Florida this weekend. Unfortunately, I won't be at the spring game, but you know I'm going to pop some videos about it. You know I'm going to talk about what we see. I'm going to watch the game a couple times, watch it in slow-mo, watch it reverse. We're going to watch it all sorts of ways, look for all sorts of things, and we'll keep you guys updated. So I'll see you guys tomorrow at the live show, 8 p.m. Like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Gig 'em.